Welcome. In this video, we would like to show you what data is relevant for creating the digital model of your factory. You will also find additional videos on the following topics. What results can you expect from emaPlant Designer? How is the digital model created? How can data be customized in the user interface? How extensive and detailed are the results? How can a lean layout be designed? And how can transport equipment be planned? Depending on the use case and objective, different input data is required to create a digital model in emaPlant Designer. The type and amount of data required varies depending on whether, for example, you want to calculate and reduce the manufacturing costs of your products, or determine the number of employees and their assignment to the machines. There are also a variety of other use cases. However, there is some data that you will need in any case. This includes certain product data. In particular, the bills of materials for the products to be manufactured are required, including their article names and numbers and, if applicable, subordinate components. If the bill of materials consists of several levels, the number per parent article must also be specified. In addition, planning periods, years or months, and planned quantities are required. In addition to this product data, some process data is also essential. At least one work plan is required for each in-house manufactured part, specifying the sequence of operations and the assigned workplace. Processing times and, if necessary, setup times must also be specified for each operation. Finally, certain resource data is also essential. This includes the names or numbers of the workstations used, their shift models, and the number of working weeks per year. In the case of brownfield planning, the number of available workstations must also be specified. Some data is only required for specific use cases, as it enables additional or more accurate calculations. Optional product data includes, for example, information on raw material consumption, order batch sizes, and ordering policy if the incoming goods warehouse is to be calculated. Material costs per unit must also be specified for cost calculation purposes. The transport aids used and their filling quantities are only necessary if the areas are to be calculated. To calculate the number of employees required, the manual portions of processing times must be specified in the process data. Scrap and rework rates, rework times and alternative work plans can also be used. Transport aids and their filling quantities, as well as transport equipment such as forklifts, are included in the optional data if the number of transport equipment required and their utilization are to be calculated. For resource data, you can also enter the dimensions of the workstations, their availability, and MTTR or MTBF. Fixed and variable costs, hourly rates, and media consumption for the workstations are particularly important for cost calculations. If employees are to be included in the calculations, employee qualifications must be assigned to the workstations. Let's take a look at how the necessary data can be collected. The required input data is usually collected in the so-called import Excel file. You can always find the latest version of this file in the emaPlant Designer installation directory or in the EMA Academy, where you can use it as a template for your own projects. It contains all the input data required to import our training example on gearbox assembly. The Excel file consists of several worksheets containing various data. At a minimum, the resources and bill of materials worksheets must be filled in. Here you can see only the mandatory data displayed. The resources worksheet should list all workstations that are available or planned in the factory. Similar workstations, that means workstations that perform the same work steps with the same processing and setup times and can replace each other, are only listed once and a number of capacities greater than 1 is specified. When planning a greenfield site, you can enter 0 for the number of capacities in order to calculate the number of workstations required for the planned production quantities. All workplaces must be assigned a unique shift model name and the number of working weeks per year. The exact working and break times of the shift models will be defined later directly in emaPlant Designer. Any periods of downtime during which no production takes place must be deducted from the number of working weeks per year. In addition to this essential data, further data can also be added or displayed, such as the dimensions of the workstations, which are required to determine the necessary space requirements and to create the layout. Or data on availability and mean time to repair, in order to be able to calculate utilization and possible bottlenecks more accurately. If the costs for manufacturing the items are to be calculated, hourly rates or fixed and variable costs can also be added. Let's take a closer look at the necessary data in the Bill of Materials worksheet. This combines product and process data. This means it contains data on the Bill of Materials. It also contains data on the planned quantities and the work plan for the manufactured items. The name of the planned products is entered on the far left. Additional products can be listed below. This is followed by the articles that belong to the product in the form of a manufacturing bill of materials. All articles required for the manufacture of a product are listed one below the other and marked with the bill of materials level they are at, and the quantity they are included in the higher level article. Products are located at BOM level 0, all directly included assemblies and items at level 1, and so on. The articles should be specified with unique article numbers. In addition, the Make or Buy column indicates whether the items are purchased parts or self-manufactured parts. In addition, the periods to be planned, where years or months can be entered, and the planned quantities must be entered. This is followed by the production batch sizes of the self-manufactured parts or order batch sizes of the purchased parts. The order batch sizes only need to be entered if an incoming goods warehouse is to be calculated. The following work plan lists the necessary operations for the make articles. Each operation must be assigned to a workplace. If several detailed operations are carried out consecutively at one workplace, the sum of the individual processing times is used for the calculation. To map several consecutive operations that are necessary for an article, the corresponding number of lines are inserted for the article. Therefore, the same article may appear several times in the bill of materials. The work plan includes the specification of operation numbers, which must reflect the correct sequence of processes, followed by operation names. Here, it is irrelevant how detailed the names of the operations are. The name or number of the workplace used is specified in the Workplace column. Finally, the setup and processing times per operation are entered. The units, minutes, or seconds used here can be changed to any time units. Additional optional data can also be added to this worksheet. For example, manual processing times can be specified if the number of employees required at the workstations is to be calculated. Scrap and rework rates as well as rework times can also be entered to provide more detailed capacity planning. If storage spaces and areas at workplaces or in warehouses are to be calculated, transport aids can be assigned to the operations. Transport equipment can also be added here. Here you can specify the transport equipment that is possible or responsible for transporting the finished articles. In addition, depending on the application, additional worksheets should be used to define, for example, the dimensions of the containers, pallets, and packages used, as shown here in the Library Containers worksheet. If you want to calculate the number of employees, enter the various qualifications in the Employees worksheet. This allows you to add further input data to the Excel file depending on the application. You can see how to import data from this Excel file into emaPlant Designer in the next video entitled, How is the Digital Model Created? Thank you for your attention.